Hello everyone, welcome to my very first sketchbook tour. I've never made any sort of video before, but a couple days ago I did finish this sketchbook here, which as you can see is my 7th complete sketchbook, and I always just really love watching other people's sketchbook tours and getting that kind of inside look at their thought process, their artistic process, so I really wanted to make my own. This cover here was just done with acrylic paint markers, which are one of my favorite tools, and you'll see throughout the sketchbook that I use them a lot. And then, yep, there in the cover it just says Sketchbook 7, and on the back I just put this little sticker. I don't remember who the artist was, but if I can find that again, I'll put that in the video. And then this is an ELO sketchbook, which at this point they are the only sketchbook I use. I love the square shape, I love the feel of them, I love the size. So yeah, if you haven't tried an ELO sketchbook, I would highly recommend these. But yeah, let's just get right into the contents of it. So yeah, here we go. Here's the little intro page. As you can see, I started this last year, 2024, on September 7th, and I finished it on August 25th. Yep, this is my 7th complete sketchbook. And then I did this little paint marker, like deer, magical deer creature, just to kind of fill out some of the space on the intro page here, which was really, really fun to do. When I first got the sketchbook, I started off just doing some little pen doodles of creatures. I'm actually studying creature design in college, so this was just a fun little exercise before I really knew what I wanted to use this sketchbook for. And then all of this stuff over here, I went back and added a bit later when I was filling out the sketchbook. This is just using ballpoint pen. I filled out some of the background with black just to make it look a little less empty. And then a few places in the sketchbook, I just glued in these paint chips, I think they're called. I just thought that looked kind of fun. But underneath that, there's another little ballpoint pen shark whale demon creature. And then you'll see throughout the book, I like to put song lyrics of whatever I'm currently listening to, just to fill some of the empty space. Here we have the second page. Again, this was some of the first stuff I drew in here, but I went back and filled some of it out later. So I think this right here, actually this drawing of Carlisle Cullen, might have been the first thing I drew in the sketchbook, which, how funny is it that Carlisle Cullen, of all things, was the first thing I drew in the sketchbook? I don't really know how to feel about that, but it happened. Yeah, and then I just have a guy from Pinterest, a sword, a dragon. There's going to be a lot of dragons in here because I love them. And then we've got Arthur from Merlin, and we have Matthias from Six of Crows. I just wrote a moment for the blondes down here because we got 3 of my favorite blonde characters from media. They're underrated. The blondes are underrated. There, I said it. Moving right on, we have some more creature design stuff. This was actually during a little workshop I had at my art school. It was a talk and we were supposed to be designing a creature while the talk was going on. So I came up with this kind of creepy gharial type crocodilian swamp monster with just a big old mouth, because why not? And then this little salamander guy in a hat, I thought he was super cute. That's also with those paint markers. This is some original character work. I just was drawing some little doodles of my character Bell Wyatt, trying to figure out his facial structure, trying to figure out how I wanted to dress him. I ended up really liking this outfit here with the kind of knit sweater underneath and then the big coat with that tartan collar. I just think that looks really cool and suits him very well. And he is a smoker, so I drew him with his cigarette. And then this is just a little cat here. Anytime you see these little squares of Post-it notes, it's probably because I messed something up and I wanted to cover it and redraw over it. So yeah, I think I messed up that cat's face when I first did it and covered it, but I like it better now. I kind of like this page. I think it's a fun mix with these flowers here in the back. I like that. This page, not a huge fan of this page, but it was fun to do. This was Halloween last year, so I just did this little like colored pencil wizard. This is not very indicative of what my art usually looks like, so I don't know. I don't feel super attached to it, but it is kind of fun. I like it. And then through my school, I did get to see How to Train Your Dragon, which is my favorite movie of all time, in theaters for the first time, because I was too young to see it in the theaters when it first came out. But that was amazing. I loved it so much. And then, yeah, it was Halloween time, so I added this little colored pencil pumpkin and a crow. This little house was done with paint markers. And then this here was just a card that I got from a university event that I glued in here and drew over. This, I think, was on Halloween last year, and a lot of it is smudged, a lot, as you can see. But this was a little gesture drawing event on Halloween where all the models came in costumes and they rotated out, so we got to draw them from different angles. This was pretty fun. I think this might be the only true life drawing I have in this sketchbook. If it weren't for the smudging of it, I think I'd like it better. Although, I don't know. It's kind of a cool effect, you tell me. Here we go. Then I watched Top Gun Maverick for the first time. I'm quite late to the game, I know, but this was actually while I was getting my first tattoo. I didn't draw this while getting the tattoo, but I watched Top Gun Maverick while getting that tattoo, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so good. And then I went back and rewatched the first Top Gun because I didn't remember it very well. Both just such good movies. If you haven't seen them, what are you doing? Go watch them. But anyway, I just drew Maverick from Top Gun Maverick and from the first Top Gun. And then I have his motorcycle over here. And then just a random wolf skeleton and a wolf head, because why not? But I don't know, there's more white space on this page than I'd usually like, but I don't really mind it. I think the way that this motorcycle goes along the curve of the wolf spine is pretty cool. So I like that. And this little red detail here was fun to add. Here we have another case of going back and filling in the page later. So I did these little like scribble pen doodles. This was a creature design exercise that I found on YouTube. I'm not remembering the guy's name right now, but I will for sure put it in the video. Really, really good exercise if you're a designer or if you're just kind of art blocked or stuck. I would highly recommend trying this scribble exercise out and seeing what you come up with. It's really fun. And I outlined this one in pink because I liked it. But then yeah, afterwards I just went and added this kind of deer, wolf, skull creature, this little owl guy, and just filled in some of the space with some paint markers again. I like the colors here. Oh yes, I watched The Bear. It's so good. It's absolutely amazing. I'm actually originally from Chicago, so it felt super personal to me. Well, not all of it, of course, but I just thought it was so well made. The writing was amazing. The cinematography was amazing. So I just wanted to draw a whole bunch of Carmi because I love him. How could you not? These were just done in blue colored pencil. All of these. This was the business card of an artist. I'm not remembering who it is, and it's on the back now, so I can't tell who it is. Oh, I'm sorry about that. But then yeah, a couple pen sketches as well. Carmi's hands, another Carmi. And then this dragon has nothing at all to do with the bear, but he's cute, so yeah. And we have more of the bear stuff. We have just the L train from Chicago because I miss it all the time. I love it so much. And then I just wanted to draw some food because the bear had me in that kind of mood, you know? So I have an olive, I've got a skewer of some kind, a big old sandwich. This drawing of Carmi got really messed up because there's some marker bleed from the next page, but it's fine. I don't really like that drawing anyway, so it's not a big deal. And a real bear. And then this was the start of the new year, so I wrote 2025. And we have even more the bear. I drew Sydney a couple times here. I thought that this photo of her was really fun. I just liked the way that the headscarf looked. And I think that the layering of the colored pencil with some alcohol marker here worked out really nicely. I should do that more often. And these little creatures too, the crab and the ray, not this one though, these two are also alcohol marker. But then I just drew, I think I drew this dragon on an assignment actually, and I ended up liking it, so I cut it out and stuck it in here. And then this here too, I like to put in like torn out pieces of lined paper. To me, it makes it kind of feel like a scrapbook more than a sketchbook, which I really like the look of. You'll see I like to stick things in here, like this sticker that a friend gave me. I just stuck that in there. Here we just have some fish that I drew on packaging, I think. I glued this packaging in from something that I bought, I don't remember what, and same with this bookmark here. I got that when I bought a book, but then yeah, I just drew some little fish over it, and I did these with paint markers as well. And then this page I actually did just a few days ago, because this had been empty for a bit. There was some marker bleed from the other page, but I came back and glued a sheet over it. And I have been watching Andor. I'm not quite done with it yet, but oh, it's so good. It's so good. I can't believe it took me this long to see it. Absolutely amazing. I'm not usually a Star Wars fan, but yeah, this might convert me. I think this sketch turned out really well. I think that looks like him. So yeah. And then here we go. So before I ever watched Andor, I watched Mandalorian, of course. Again, very late to the game, but I really, really loved it. It's so sweet. I do think Andor is a technically better show, but The Mandalorian just has a special place in my heart. So I went and drew Din a couple times. That's just Pedro. That's not even Din. And same down here. I think that's Joel, actually. But I wanted to draw The Mandalorian as a cowboy and as a pirate, which, you know, why not? I think this is a really cool pose. I'm not sure if I found it somewhere or if I came up with it. Knowing me, it was referenced, but I'm not sure if I remember. I think that turned out really, really nicely, though. Very dynamic. And then Grogu. I think this Grogu is super cute over here. I like that one. We have some more Pedro, of course. I watched the second Gladiator film with him. I remember really liking it. I don't remember a lot about it anymore, but I do think it was quite good at the time. And then this was just for a story that I'm working on. This is like a fantasy race from a story. And in the middle here, we have one of my current D&D characters. She is a tiefling cleric, and she's like the group mom. She's like she's a food cleric, you know? She just makes everyone soup. But here she is with her adoptive daughter, and they're looking at this map together, very, very confused and very lost, which, you know, is par for the course for them. Oh no. Didn't mean for that to pop out. But anyway, we have more Pedro, because of course we do. This was on Valentine's Day, and it had honestly just been kind of a bad day for me, so I ended it by sitting with a couple of my roommates and eating a lot of chocolate, and just, we were all working in our sketchbooks together, and I think that rescued the day. This was pretty fun. So I wanted to draw that one photo of Pedro while he was doing the voice lines for The Mandalorian, where he was holding the pillow in the place of the Grogu puppet. It's such a great photo. I couldn't not draw it. But then I drew some big cats, because I think they're really fun to draw, and I need to practice, because as much as I love drawing animals, muzzles are really hard for me. So I wanted to work on that. I think this drawing of them, these two nuzzling each other, is adorable. And then we have an instant overnight oatmeal recipe, because of course we do. What else am I gonna put in there on the Valentine's Day page? This is some more stuff for a different story of mine. Not this is unrelated. That's just like a little fairy drawing that I drew. But this deer here, and this house in the background, and this arch, that's all for this story that I'm working on. I'm sorry if this is not laying super flat. I'm trying to get it to stay open, but it might be a little bit wonky. But I really like the look of this page. It feels very full, kind of flowy, a little bit messy. I like when pages look a little messy. So this one is nice to me. I like it. And of course, we have even more Pedro. This page might be my favorite in the sketchbook, or at least one of my favorites. Again, it's just that super kind of messy, full, vibrant look that I really like. But over here, we have a little bit of a The Last of Us Mandalorian crossover. I just drew Joel holding Grogu and saying, "This is their own kid," which I think is really, really funny. That makes me laugh. And then these three drawings I really, really like. I think these are all from Narcos, and I'm forgetting his character's name right now, which I feel so bad about because that's such a good show. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend Narcos. But I don't know, I think he really looks like himself in all three of these. So yeah, and then we just have more kind of The Last of Us mushrooms to fill out some space. This might be the most random page in the book. I don't even know where to start with this. This is just all over the map. We have Steve from Narcos, the other character. I think he's the main character of that show. Snape, because I was rewatching all the Harry Potter movies with my roommate. A couple original characters of mine in pencil. Steve the fish, which was just such a delight. Can we bring that back? I loved him so much. And then I was trying to force myself to pull an all-nighter, and I was really hating myself and regretting it. So this is the fish of impatience and regret. Yeah, don't force yourself to pull all-nighters. Not fun. I don't know how some of you do it so often. Not my thing. Here was just a little bit of face practice. I felt that my faces weren't as, I don't really want to go for realism, but I do want to go close to that, and my faces weren't as believable as I wanted them to be. So I just wanted to practice drawing faces at some like really weird tilted angles that I don't usually go for, and then practicing some more like dramatic expressions, because I don't usually draw my characters with super dramatic expressions. I think that one turned out super, super well. It looks a lot like the reference, and it's super dynamic, so I like that. This one too. I don't know. There's something about the completely empty eye sockets that makes me laugh. And here we go. These were some more faces. Most of these two were from Pinterest, but the rest of them are from an Instagram account that I found. I think it's called Earth's World, that just takes like really candid, realistic photos of people, and they're often out in like daylight. So there's some really fun lighting happening on their faces. So I wanted to draw some of those people. I like that one. I think it turned out nicely, and it looks like him. And then we're still practicing humans here. I was doing some gesture drawing. I think, if I remember, these were 1-minute gestures with colored pencil. Yeah, I like to do some gesture drawing when I can. I didn't do nearly as much of it in this sketchbook as I usually like to, but that's because I was doing a lot of it for class. So I was getting a good amount of gesture drawing in, it's just not in this book. And then I went and just put a little pink square behind my favorite ones. Yeah, this one's hard to see, but I think it's a cool pose. And even more face practice. This was kind of taking what I'd learned doing all those things from reference and putting it into practice. So all the faces on this page were from imagination, and I don't know, I'm pretty excited to see the fact that I can draw faces at these weird angles now without reference. I still have a long way to go, of course, and I'm never going to stop using reference, because references are amazing. And then yeah, I had some tinned fish. It was really good. I did a review for it on the back. Yeah. Here we have a rare, full, single illustration on both pages. This little colored pencil dragon. I had a lot of fun doing this. I don't usually use colored pencils for finished drawings instead of sketches, because I'm a pretty impatient artist. And colored pencils take a lot of layering and a lot of time to get them to look the way that I like. And I don't have time for that. I don't usually want to sit there for that long. But this was still a fun challenge, and I had a good time doing it. Had a good time building up the color and making sure everything was nice and smooth and blendy. This page, this is a bit of an explosion, but I was and still am planning a set of stickers. There are, let me remind myself, I think there's 7 of them. And so I was just going in and doing little initial doodles for each of the 7 stickers to figure out what I wanted to put on them. It's all kind of like woodland creature themed, like little creatures riding other little creatures. It was so self-indulgent, but it makes me happy. And when I sell these, which I will be selling these on my Etsy, I hope that it can make some other people happy too. Some of these drawings are super cute. Look at that, it's adorable. Here we go, we have another very random page. As mentioned before, I am a huge How to Train Your Dragon fan, and the death song is my favorite dragon. So I did that in here in acrylic markers, glued a couple just wax seals and stickers in here for fun. And then this is the start of my obsession with Shoot from the Hip, which if you guys haven't heard from Shoot from the Hip, they're an amazing UK-based improv comedy group. And I just fell so in love with them around May of this year and have been watching them nonstop ever since. But you're gonna see a couple of references to them in here, this being the first one, this little squid with not paella around it. And then it was May, so of course I had to draw some mermaids for Mermay. I never do the actual mermaid drawing challenge. I just kind of like to doodle a mermaid or two and call it done. I don't have the patience for a full challenge. But I do think these were fun. I focused on keeping it super loose and sketchy. I was using ballpoint pen, so it was another opportunity to challenge myself to not erase anything and just kind of go with the lines that my hand wanted to make at the time. I think this pose turned out super, super nice. I think the rest of them are a little bit basic, but there's something about the flow of this one that I really enjoy. So yeah, mermaid. We have some more Shoot from the Hip stuff on here. I drew my favorite member of the group, Tom. He did not look like himself at all in this drawing here, so I wrote about that down here. That looks nothing like him. But these two are getting closer. I think that one looks a lot like him, so I'm pretty happy with that. Then I went to a cat cafe, so I stuck this in and went home and drew a couple little cats. Yeah, I like that one. I think that one looks good. And then a radish. I like this radish a lot, and this you'll see on the next page. I had a lot of fun drawing it, even though it is colored pencil. So I wanted to do some more of that. And there we go. Yeah, a full page of colored pencil veggies. I love the way this looks. I love the way this page turned out. If I were a more patient person, I would have a whole sketchbook just filled with things like this. But they were really, really fun to do. I had fun adding like kind of weird, unexpected colors in there, like orange and purple and green, and yeah, really good time. And this was all inspired by that radish, so I drew another radish because I couldn't help myself. Oh, this page is fun, pretty colorful. This is all just paint marker stuff. I had a friend who loves to draw tigers in her sketchbook, and I was super inspired by that. So I went and drew a little tiger in my own sketchbook, and then a scarlet macaw, just because I thought that the different colors in the feathers would be fun to draw. Although, of course, I did not stay accurate with the colors in the feathers. We have a pink tiger, we have a purple macaw. It's fine, you know? But then this is, again, a ticket to How to Train Your Dragon through my school, but this time the live action one. My school was screening the live action version, so we got to see it before its theater release, which I liked it. It was good. I will definitely always prefer the animated one. I think most people agree with that. But, you know, as far as live action remakes go, it was not bad. Yeah. Even more Shoot from the Hip stuff. This page was so much fun to do. Oh my gosh. I started off by writing most of the script to one of their long form plays in the background. This was for, which one was it? This was for A Creek in the Attic, which is still in my top 10 of their plays. It's so good. If you're gonna watch any of their long forms, I would recommend that or The Off Season. They're both so amazing. But I drew all 4 of the members here, Tom, AJ, Sam, and Luke, just over that text. Yeah, I think this is really fun. I think most of them look like themselves. Tom's face got a little messed up, so I put another little post-it note over that. And Sam doesn't really look right, but AJ and Luke both look very accurate to the reference photos, so I'm happy with that. Even more Shoot from the Hip. Yep, we have 3 of the boys here. We have Luke, Sam, and Tom here. And then I added AJ over here because I didn't want him to feel left out. And then a little quote from one of their plays, which I think is just so funny. And then I added a pink giraffe over here just to fill up some of the space. This is from a tattoo shop that my friend had gotten a tattoo at, and they brought this card back for me to put in my sketchbook. We have another dragon in here. I really wanted to draw a dragon that was kind of velociraptor-y. I think I had just finished watching the original Jurassic Park again, so I wanted to draw a kind of dinosaur-ish dragon. And we have another one down here in pen instead. And then I went to the Starbucks Roastery in Chicago. It's so cool. I've been there a few times now, and it's just so cool each time. But this card here was for one of the types of coffee bean that were available there. And then another little paint chip, and I drew a sword on it. Oh yeah, this paint chip the color was called Dragon's Blood. So I thought this was super fitting to stick in this book here. On the next page here, we have another one of my D&D characters who I actually haven't started playing yet, but he is going to be a half-elf warlock. I have him here, and he's peacock themed. So I just wanted to draw this. I love the look of these, like, I don't know what they're called. They're not entirely albino, these peacocks, but the ones that are like partially albino, I don't know. Someone will let me know, I'm sure. But I wanted to fill in the space with one of those. And then I'm not a huge fan of this drawing. I think I could have shaded it more, but again, I just kind of got bored of it, so I moved on too fast. I think if I'd added some more shading to the skin and the chair, it would have been better. And then this here was a creature design exercise from an art book of mine, which I will put in the video too if I can find it. This is such a good book. It just provides a lot of like challenges for you to practice creature design, character design, and it kind of treats it like a game, so you have achievements depending on how much work you do. But this exercise was to take the skeleton of a real animal, and I chose to use an otter, and then to draw or to sketch like 3 little creatures over that skeleton that aren't an otter, you know, come up with 3 creatures that could fit over that skeleton, and then develop it into a final one. So I ended up with this guy, who I think is pretty fun. I also like the technique that I used here, the combination of alcohol marker and pen. I think it worked out really, really nicely. I like his head fin, I think that's cool. This was the start of the Loki mania. Again, very late to the game, I watched Loki this summer, finally. Again, so good. So good. I think a lot of people are on the same page when I say that Marvel has been kind of, you know, losing its touch lately, but Loki is the exception. So good. So good. But I wanted to draw him here. I'm not a huge fan of most of these sketches. That one's fine. But I think these could be better. It's hard to draw with pen. But then I drew his little, why am I forgetting what it's called? The scepter. I drew the scepter. And then under that, just some song lyrics that I felt fit him pretty well. I don't know if you can see that, but that's under there. Even more Loki. At this point, I got fixated on the idea that I was too reliant on references. So I wanted to teach myself how to draw without them, which is silly. You should never feel guilty for using references. They're there for a reason. But I drew that Loki from a photo and then did this one without a photo, so I could see if I remembered anything. I like it. I think it turned out nicely. That's fine. Another one without reference, which I think actually looks a good amount like him, so I think that's cool. And then the whole rest of the thing is just silly. There was this one interview where he and I think Josh Horowitz were joking that Thor and his buddies would have sleepovers and not invite Loki. So I just drew him there sitting sad in his pajamas, having not been invited to the sleepover. And then I drew the Tesseract as a Jellycat stuffed animal. And then I drew Loki holding the Tesseract Jellycat stuffed animal in a loving embrace. I drew Loki as a kind of like traditional medieval king. I don't really know where that idea came from, but it's kind of fun. And then I drew Thor smushing Loki in a way that I'm sure he probably has done many a time throughout their brotherhood. This was kind of fun. I went back through an old sketchbook of mine and found some characters, some like old OCs of mine that I haven't drawn in a while. In fact, I think I only ever drew each of them once. I'm not a super like OC driven artist. I have a couple of them, I just don't draw them super often. So I wanted to give some love to some of those old OCs. We have Florian, we have Elias, we have Shiloh, and we have unnamed Demon Queen. And not a single one of them has human ears, which I don't know what that says about me when I was a child, but it's true. I'm very proud of that skull. I drew that skull entirely from imagination, so I'm really happy with that. I think some of the poses here are fun. And then I got a new set of acrylic paint markers, the pastel set. I love these things. They're my favorite art tools. But I wanted to draw this little crocodile, and then if you've seen Loki, I'm sure you know about the crocodile Loki, so I put some little Loki horns over him. I did some fruit on some lined paper that I stuck in here, some little like fruit stamps, and a seagull, and then this sailing boat, which I called it Glorious Purpose. Again, if you've seen Loki, you know, I was deep in it at this point. I was so deep in it. Here we just have some random little things. I felt like drawing a lion. And I liked this better before I added the pen, actually. It was a really nice, just colored pencil sketch, and I thought it looked pretty good. And then I added the pen at the end, and I think that kind of messed it up, but it's still fine. It's kind of like a graphic look. I don't mind it. I drew some tinned fish, because I love tinned fish. I drew this dog. She is like, she lives at the coffee shop that I work at, so I wanted to draw her. I love her so much. She's such a good girl. And then we just have a Pinterest girl and some Pinterest coffee to fill out the space. This page is so much fun. Oh my gosh. I love seafood. I love seafood so much. And this was like in the middle of summer when my seafood obsession was at its peak. So I wanted to do some little sardines in a tin. I did an oyster, which I actually learned to like oysters for the first time this year. I always said that I didn't like them, but I had some more this year and I'm like, okay, never mind, they're good. So this is my PSA. Even if you think you don't like something, give it another shot. You might like it now. And then I added a pearl to it, which don't eat those, but I thought it was cute. A lobster and a shrimp. I just love the way this page turned out. It's super graphic, it's super colorful, it's super polished. I like it a lot. We have even more Loki. Who's surprised? Not me. I love this drawing of them too. I don't know where I found the reference from. It was just like a blank reference of one person leaning on another, but I needed therapy after the end of Loki, and this was my therapy. And then I just drew those two being silly, or Thor being silly and Loki being stabby. I'm not a huge fan of that drawing, but it's there, it's cute. I drew a Thor in the background. I drew a Loki. I wanted this drawing to be super... Actually, I don't even know if that's Loki. That might straight up just be Tom Hiddleston. But anyway, I wanted to do a very polished, clean, kind of finished looking drawing of him. And then both of these little drawings up here were entirely from imagination. I really like the way that one looked. And then that, this is going based off of the story in mythology that Loki had his mouth sewn shut, I think by the dwarves? Correct me if I'm wrong, for being a jerk. So I drew our sweet, sad Loki with his mouth sewn shut. This you can barely see, it's so light, but Art Fight was about to start at this point, and my first time participating in it was 2 years ago now at this point. And I love it so much every year. It's so much fun. But I like to do a little bit of like reference gathering and loose planning beforehand. I don't start any of the drawings before Art Fight, of course, but just some loose thumbnailing. And I picked out some of my favorite ones that I wanted to draw. There's some more of that over here. These are actually some of my friends' characters, so that was cool. And then I had gone back through another old sketchbook and found this little drawing of a mushroom house that I just loved so much, and I'm like, wow, why don't I do an updated version of that in my new sketchbook? So I did. I think that's pretty cute. This was done with mainly alcohol markers and then a little bit of colored pencil at the end. Then there's a lot of bleed through on this page and I didn't really feel like covering it up. So instead I just did a full like creature with most of it on this half of the page where it wouldn't be interrupted by the marker bleed. I am notoriously like pro-dragon, anti-unicorn, so, you know, the appearance of a unicorn is a rare thing for me, but I had such a good time drawing this. I had so much fun just adding the little details in the fur and doing the musculature and the pose, and I think this kind of more like a goat-like head instead of a horse ended up looking really cool. And there's another little doodle of the same thing up here, and it says, "Me, drawing unicorns? Who am I?" Which is very true. Who am I? We have some Lord of the Rings stuff. I love Lord of the Rings so much. They will forever be my favorite trilogy. And I love Legolas. He is my favorite. So I drew him a few times. I've had this idea in my head for a few months where it's like Legolas is in an infomercial for Lembas bread. It's completely ridiculous. But drawing this made me laugh. And then I said, infomercial Legolas isn't real. He can't hurt you. Which, who knows if that's true. This I actually came back and did later, which is why the style is a bit different. Same with this. You'll see a bit later on in the book that these are more indicative of stuff I was doing later at the end. I really like this drawing of the Hobbit hole. I think it looks so cute. And then we have some dogs. I love dogs so much. I love dogs even more now than when I drew this. I don't have a dog, but I've always really wanted one. It's like a lifelong dream of mine to have a big dog. But I just wanted to draw some of the dogs that I think are the most unique looking or silly looking or fun looking. So we've got an Italian Greyhound, a Boston Terrier, a Chow Chow. I think that was a Westie, a West Highland Terrier. I think it could be, no, that's a Westie, that's not a Schnauzer. A couple of Bees and Hounds, a Cocker Spaniel, and a Cane Corso. These were really fun to do, all of them in a different color. This page is also extremely random. I don't even know where to start. I felt like drawing sea slugs, so I drew some sea slugs. And then, of course, I watched K-pop Demon Hunters, which, oh my god, so good. So good. Highly recommend. If you haven't seen it yet, what are you doing? Go watch it. But I drew a little Rumi there. I drew the magpie, I'm forgetting its name, but great creature design. Then I also watched Superman in theaters on my own. This was the first movie that I've ever just gone to see alone. I don't know why it never occurred to me that that's a thing you can do, but I've done it a few times now since. But I drew him. I don't think either of these really look like him. They just kind of look like a Superman, not necessarily this Superman. But, you know, they're good. I like them. And then a Crypto, of course, because he's precious and I love him. And then this is the wild card here. I wrote down something from another Shoot from the Hip long form and put it in this little mini envelope and sealed it. I don't really remember what's in here. And I never will, because I can't break this seal. So, you know, that's a mystery for archaeologists to discover years from now. We have some more K-pop Demon Hunter stuff. I drew Rumi a few times. I like some of these better than others. I think that drawing is pretty good. And I like this one where she's cuddling with the derpy tiger. Oh my god, what a great design. So wonderful. But I think these drawings could be better. I don't think either of them really looks like her. And then these here, this was my first ever D&D character. I have not played him for years now. I didn't even play him for that long, but I have super fond memories of him because he was the first thing to really get me into D&D. He was a tiefling paladin. He was like moon, celestial, owl themed, and I just felt like drawing him again because I missed him. He was a lovely boy. So yeah, that was Voltaire. Then, okay, yes, I rewatched Mad Max Fury Road, which again, such a good movie. It's just so good. It's not even usually my type of thing. I'm not usually a big chase movie fan, but the world building is absolutely incredible. And I love Nux so much. He's such a good character. And I think what happened here is following Superman, I was going back through all of my favorite like Nicholas Hoult movies, and he's just so good in this movie. He's amazing. So I drew him there, few times. I'm not unhappy with any of these drawings of him. I think they all turned out pretty well, but I drew a Max up there too, a crow down here, him incapable being cute. And then this was from another interview with Nicholas Hoult where he said that he was like knitting a lot while on the set of Mad Max, which I just think is so funny. The idea of him sitting there in full makeup, just knitting hats and scarves for people. I just think that's hilarious. And then I drew an Irish wolfhound because I really, really want an Irish wolfhound. I think they're so pretty. This I did while traveling. I think I was in San Diego. Yes, I was in San Diego. And I remember I did this drawing here of this like hippocampus seahorse while I was sitting like out on the rocks over the ocean, and it was super stormy and moody, and I was having such a good time drawing that. And then I watched The Sandman Season 2. Oh my god, The Sandman Season 2. The whole show was amazing. But I wanted to draw Dream because I just love him. This, I think, is so funny. I put these little stars on his shirt to just fill up space, but I think it makes it look like he's wearing a robe or pajamas, which, you know, he's the king of dreams. So it's fitting, it works. I never actually ended up finishing season 2 because I was so upset by what happened in episode 11, 10? I don't know, one of the two. If you know, you know. If you've seen it, I was so upset by that, so I just never finished it because I knew that it would kind of put a bad taste in my mouth for the whole show, which I'll probably go back and watch it in a bit. I just had to let it settle for a while first. Yes, then I went to Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, for 2 days, which was absolutely amazing. I can't even explain. There's so much. But the second day I was there, I spent the entire time just in Artist Alley. And I went around talking to as many of the artists as I could and gathering their business cards and stickers and things like that. So I glued in here a lot of the business cards that I got, and I did my best to write down the names of all of the artists by their business cards. So if you want to track down any of these artists on social media, please do. They're all so amazing, and I highly recommend their work. Here we go. This is when I had that kind of like style shift for a bit. I've gone back to my old style at this point, but this was like a little break from it where I was doing something more stylized and line heavy and cartoony, and it was really fun to work on. I remember just kind of really getting into the flow while I was working on this page and not even thinking about it anymore. You know, like I didn't have to think about what I was drawing. I was just drawing, which is really refreshing because that doesn't happen a whole lot these days. But I drew another little dream up there with Matthew, but like an eldritch horror Matthew, which is fitting. I think if you've seen Sandman, you agree that Matthew has eldritch horror energy in the best way. And then this was an actual person that I saw while I was traveling. It was amazing. He was walking around in a pink fur coat, hot pink fur coat, and a cowboy hat with tassels and little rubber ducks glued around the rim. Absolutely amazing, 10 out of 10, no notes. He's an icon, and I wish I could see him again. Some more of that kind of different style, playing around with it. I drew a little goofy sea serpent, a couple little like fairy angel creatures. And then this is when the apple trend began. I don't know if that's still going on. If it is, I might do like a proper piece for it eventually. But this was with my character, who we saw previously in the book, my character Belle Wyatt, and I realized that he was really similar to Dream in a lot of ways, so I drew them on the two sides of the apple. And then a little dog, wolf creature, to fill up space. This page is fine. It's not my favorite in the book, but there's some things I like. I'm a huge Critical Role fan, of course, so I drew my two favorite Critical Role characters, both from the Mighty Nine. It's my favorite of the campaigns. But yeah, we have Caduceus and we have Ford. I love them both so much. I think that drawing of Ford turned out so well. That's like exactly how I picture him in my head, so I'm super happy with that one. And then a couple little long boys, random noodly long creatures, and a forward from behind, which, yeah, I'm not sure why I drew any of this like I did. This is an odd drawing for sure, but it's there, it's in the book now. And then here we go. My dog mania has peaked at this point. Well, no, that's a lie. It's still getting stronger. But I want a dog so badly, and rough collies are far and away my favorite breed of dog. I really, really want one. So I was just listing the pros of owning a rough collie and the cons, of which there are none, because they're perfect. They're wonderful dogs. And then, of course, we've got the lyrics to August by Taylor Swift, because it's August. And then I was getting super into the fall mood, because it's fall soon. It's starting to get a little bit chillier where I live, and I'm super excited about it. So I drew a little cozy fawn character, and then I was trying to figure out how I would want to draw myself, if I wanted to go, like, mostly stylized, but still make it look like me. This is a little bit uncanny, but it's not bad. I think, like, I could play around with that more. And then this is manifesting for my future. Because I really, really want a collie, and I really want my hair to be super long. So I am just manifesting both of the things to be true. And I think this drawing is absolutely adorable. I love it. It's one of my favorite drawings in the whole book. Then I went and did a little bit of cafe sketching out and about. I went to a couple cafes around where I live. I don't do this super often. In fact, I think this is the first time I've done it in a few years, but oh my god, it was so much fun. It's kind of stressful if you're like a little socially anxious to make sure that people aren't looking at you while you're drawing, but most people don't care. Most people are nothing but flattered if you draw them. But yeah, I was just drawing some people who were in the cafe that I was at. I love this drawing here of this guy in the baseball cap. I think that turned out so well. And I was having a croissant, so I drew my almond croissant. And then here we go. This is kind of like the weird last page of the sketchbook here, so it's a different color, but I'll get to that in a second. These are just some kind of autumnal little sketches because I'm getting so excited for fall, you guys. It's my favorite season. So I drew this kind of like dryad, woodland, fae type creature here, some oak leaves, and this little like onion head creature, fisherman, who is a returning character of mine, who I like to draw every now and again when I don't know what else to draw. And then I just stapled in this length of silk ribbon that I had and drew this castle, which this is just a photo from Pinterest, but I don't draw architecture super often, so I wanted to challenge myself to drawing something that had a lot of different parts to it. And I think this is nice. I like the way it turned out. I think I could have chosen a better color for the sky. This blue is kind of like bright and harsh and out of place to me, but I don't know. I like this. I think I could go in with even more detail and make this super fun. But yeah. And there you have it. That's about it for this sketchbook. I did a little outro page here. Again, fall is starting soon and I'm just so happy. So I drew this little mouse here taking a bath in a little bowl of soup in a pumpkin. And saying thank you. Thank you for looking at the sketchbook. Thank you for taking the time to look through my art. And I finished this on August 25th, 2025. And then over here, I just have a little dedication to the people who got this sketchbook for me. And I'm just so grateful. But yeah, that's about it for this sketchbook. I had such a good time working on it. This is my favorite sketchbook I've ever worked on, which I think is a good thing because that just means I'm getting better and better, as it is the most recent one. And I already have a fresh ELO sketchbook that I'm ready to crack into, and I'm super excited about that. And when I'm done with that one, who knows, maybe I will film another tour because this has been super fun to film. It's been nice to just talk about all the silly things that I did in this book and all the fun that I had making the art in here. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I don't know if I'll ever make another video. I don't know how long it'll be before I do, but even if I don't, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for listening to me ramble unscripted, and I love you.